You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Bets on Media Network.
I'm your host, Frank Luppo with the ESQ Resource Radio Show. And today, unfortunately, our guests had to reschedule. And so we're going to spend the time today talking about Strafaci Law and the debt workout program that we provide and how that works. And certainly would encourage anybody that has an issue or a concern with a debt load that they're struggling with, before you wait too long, just reach out, and you can reach our office at 602-889-7244 or 602-889-7288, and we can provide a free consultation to go over our program. One of the first things we do when we sit down with a client is kind of assess where they're at currently, because our goal is to provide them with the best option available for them, not signing up a new client. And we walk through these options. Number one, and it's always fascinating to me that I met with a client last week, and they have about $23,000 of credit card debt, and they're struggling with it. But to a person, every client we meet, one of the big concerns I have is how this impacts their credit, which at times I have a tendency to just want to reach across the desk and shake them up and say, what difference does that make? But what it speaks volumes to is how the bank has their marketing machine working to their benefit. That's what they want people to think is, don't do this because it damages your credit. You have bad credit. You're a bad person. So on and so on. And the reality is you have to be a person that you can live with from that standpoint. Your intention wasn't to not pay your bills. It's just a situation you're in, puts you in a position where you have to do something differently than what's in front of you. Because the only way not to impact your credit negatively when you have a lot of debt is to pay your bills on time and pay them in full. Any other option will impact your credit negatively. Debt management, consumer credit counseling, bankruptcy, debt workout, all those things are going to impact your credit negatively. And as we talk with a client, one of the first things we talk about is, have they met with a bankruptcy attorney? Because if they can file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which in Chapter 7, that absolves you from that debt, and really put you in a position of fresh start is what they call it, to where, you can include unsecured debt, a second mortgage, and any other medical or collection bills in that Chapter 7. What you can't include is student loans and tax debt. That's, as we always say about government issues, that's forever. That you have to pay that. You don't have any other options unless you can put forth maybe an offer and compromise on your taxes and things like that. But it's a whole different animal in respect to things. But Chapter 7, what it does is gives you a fresh start. And what's crazy about that, which people don't believe until they see it, is the moment that you start the process of filing a Chapter 7, you have a lawyer representing you, you file a petition to the court, you will start getting notification from the same banks that you owe money to. And it's a marketing ploy. And their ploy is, look, we understand you went through some financial difficulty. We want to help you recover. We offer a new credit card that will help you reestablish your credit, which sounds crazy to most people and saying, why would they be doing that? Well, the banks are very smart, because here's what they know. Is once you file bankruptcy, you can't file bankruptcy again for another 8 years. And if you're somebody who has $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of credit card debt, you're their kind of client. As much as you say, I'm never going to do this again, in most cases, a lot of our clients are risk takers, entrepreneurs, somebody that's willing to take some chances for a better tomorrow. That's who the bank wants as a client. They want you to think about using their money. And in that 7 years, it gives them a chance to recover what they lost. And if you do truly file bankruptcy again, the bank wins. They get all their money plus. It's a good situation for them from that standpoint. And that's why we always are hesitant to tell people the banks are the bad guy. Just the banks are the greedy guy. They're the people that nothing they do does not revolve around making money or is not profitable for them from that standpoint. Doesn't make them bad guys, but what you're dealing with is a machine and not a person. The way most consumers think about their debt is personally. The way the bank thinks about your debt as a business. They're not offended by it. They don't care if you pay them or not. They want you to pay them, but they have the things in place, excuse me, that they benefit you if you don't pay from them, where they have maybe derivatives that insure against you defaulting on that debt. So if you default, they win. If you pay them, they win. And it all works in their favor from that standpoint. The best payday, as we often lay out this question to our clients, if you have $30,000 of debt, of credit card debt at 19% interest, and you're making them a payment, how long does it take you to pay it off?
Forever.
Forever is the standard answer. The actual answer is 59 years and 4 months.
Jeez.
And when you're 50 years old, that's forever. When you're 20 years old, you're 70. It's incredible to think in those terms. But the real crime, as I see it, is if you pay the minimum payment over that 59 years and 4 months, you pay the bank back $112,000. So who wouldn't want to, if you knew that up front, if you looked at that credit card up front and you knew that you were borrowing $30,000 and you're going to pay them $112,000 back, would you sign up for $30,000 of debt?
Well, I got to kind of, this might be an ignorant question, Frank, so forgive me, but what happens if something happens to you? God forbid that you pass away and you still have all that debt accumulated. Does the bank write that off, or does your family inherit that debt, or how exactly does that work?
Your estate would inherit that debt, that it would still be an obligation that's owed. So if you have money in your estate, depending on how things break out and those kind of things, or if you're married, your partner would incur that debt, that becomes their debt. One of the things, and we've had several clients in that situation to where the significant other passes away. And, we had a client, a mother of 2 young children, and she's faced with about $140,000 of debt that she was really unaware of, from a standpoint that her husband ran the business, and she took care of the kids and the family. And she was not aware they had that much debt accumulated when he passed away.
And now she's stuck with a bill.
She's stuck with a bill. And what can happen is, so if he has a life insurance policy, $100,000, that gets paid out, and the banks wants their $140,000 out of that. So now you take that $500,000 life insurance and you deduct $140,000 out of it, and that's what her and her kids have to live with from that standpoint. What we were able to do is get that $140,000 all negotiated out for about $12,000 for her.
Jeez.
And that becomes a significant leverage story in dealing with the banks, because,
kind of pulling the heartstrings a
right,
little bit.
to where the bank, you don't want to be that bank.
Yeah.
And
Jerks.
that's right. And unfortunately, they were willing to work with us in those situations, to make that work. And then, and in some cases may or may not have that life insurance policy even to have that issue to deal with.
Right.
That unfortunately none of us think, we can always put that off till tomorrow. I don't need it today. I'm going to be all right. And then today happens and somebody's got to deal with it.
Right. Okay.
But it becomes that issue. And that becomes, it's a great question, because most people don't understand or think. And the other issue becomes, which we deal with a lot, is in divorce. When husband and wife get divorced, and in the divorce decree, it states that the husband is going to take on the debt, or the wife is going to take on the debt. And the other person thinks, I'm done. It's not mine. It's your problem. The only person that wasn't in the court and didn't agree to that was the bank. And in a community property state like Arizona, even though the other person says they're going to take it on, if they don't take it on, or in some cases, some of them are pretty tricky, that they take on the debt, the divorce done, file bankruptcy, and now the other person, the bank's coming after, wanting the money.
Yeah, I've seen that happen to a family member of mine. That happened.
Right.
The house went into foreclosure. She didn't know anything about it,
and you got to deal with it.
Yeah,
and it's not, and you're still in that case saying, well, in the divorce it says that's their problem. Well, like I said, the bank wasn't a part of that, and they didn't agree to it. And in the community property state, they're going to try to track down whoever has money that can pay them.
So there's really no protection other than the. So how does that work then? If that happens, where one person says, "I'm going to take on this," and the bank can go after the other person because obviously they weren't in the court, they didn't agree to that.
Right.
Is there any protection at all for that other person from the bank?
No,
at all?
Not really, because.
Or does it have to go to where, okay, now I have to go back to court with my ex and sue them for putting me in this?
Well, yeah,
they were in a breach of.
Well, that becomes your situation. They're in a breach of the divorce decree from that standpoint, and from their standpoint, I dealt with it. I took it on, and I couldn't afford it, so I filed bankruptcy. What you have to do in that situation, as best you can, in being an adult, is. That's a community property issue and should be dealt with as a community property issue. So you both have a clear plan as we go through this divorce. At the end of the day, neither one of us can afford to pay this. So we should both either file bankruptcy as part of doing this divorce, so we absolve each other from that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But that, in a lot of cases, that becomes that one last slap in the face. In those situations.
Gotcha.
That's exactly.
Sorry, that's mean, but
well, but I don't think I try not to believe that people are calculated like that to do that.
What
specifically, and saying, "Hey, I'll take it on. I got a plan."
Yeah.
And then
my plan is to
just to grind you on this deal. But if you deal with it and say, gosh, this is both of our debt, it's our responsibility, that once we get divorced, we know neither one of us can manage this. So why not through this process that we're already going to be starting over? And you don't want it to be a big deal, but you just have to make sure that everything is clear in what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. If you agree to those terms, I think, the one party looks at it as, thank goodness, because that is most of your credit cards and you're the one spending all the money. So you should take care of it. Mm-hmm. It just depends on how they take care of it. And how you communicate in that process, that if, again, if the other person takes it on and says, hey, this is way over my head and I just got a, hour cut at work and I can't afford it. I'm thinking of filing bankruptcy and I recommend that you take a look at that as well. That helps the other person, because it'll eventually force you to do something as that other person that's dealing with it. You may never intended to file bankruptcy, but you may have to in order to deal with it.
Okay.
Because you don't want to, take that into your next relationship. And we've had that happen to where, the good news is that if you go into that next relationship, the new person really doesn't have any obligation to that debt. So they're not going to be impacted by that from that situation, other than, if you're going to buy a house and that other person's credit's impacted and affected by it, you can have some issues with it to deal with. So
all right.
It's just trying to tie all those loose ends up rather than just assuming everybody's going to do their part to do the right thing and take care of stuff. And I think it should be part of, what the family law counselor talks about with the person of saying, look, that other person taking on this debt, here's some of the pitfalls. They may take it on and then file bankruptcy. What are you going to do? And so maybe have that conversation through the process and say, rather than ever wanting to talk to you or see you or hear from you again, let's get divorced, get the bankruptcy done, and get on with our lives, type of thing. So it's done.
Okay.
It's crazy, but it happens. So as we bring a client in, that's really what we want to get is a clear picture of where they're at, what they really want to do, and then what options are available. And we go through bankruptcy, and we go through a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13. And we also emphasize to them, we're not a bankruptcy law firm. So it's in your best interest to also go meet and speak specifically to a bankruptcy law attorney to make sure you have a clear picture of everything. We can give you a peripheral overview of, here's a couple things. In every state, they have a threshold of income. If you make a certain level of income, you're prohibited from doing a Chapter 7. And you need to be aware of those things, but there may be other things that can help you in that process if you have dependents that may reduce that situation to where you do now qualify for those things. So we always want you to go seek counsel to make sure you have all the right information, not just the peripheral information we have. And in some cases, as we tell people, we're certainly a better payout than a Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is a 5-year payout, and you pay between 70 to 80% of the principal over that 5 years. And you now have a new financial partner in a bankruptcy trustee who any tax refunds, any bonuses, those things become, something they're looking for to help pay your creditors, because the bankruptcy trustee gets incentivized by collecting money and paying back the creditors. And they're looking for those opportunities to find extra money and put that in play to get the creditors paid back. And again, it's not the bad thing or worst thing, but it's situations where you need to know what's in your best interest and why it makes sense to do that. Because one thing in a Chapter 13, you can also put in a home equity loan, strip that off of your standard mortgage, and still keep your home. And so that may be the reason why you file a Chapter 13. It may not necessarily be the economics. It may be the ability to keep the house that you've been in, and here's why you want to keep it, and those things.
Okay.
So we make sure we cover that peripheral information, and people are clear about bankruptcy, how that impacts them. Like I said, it's not the stigma that it once was in filing a bankruptcy, that we deal with a bankruptcy attorney, and his philosophy is, if you haven't filed bankruptcy by the time you're 40, you're just not trying, which that's one way to look at it. but it's also
so try harder is what you're telling me.
Well, it's one of those things where you're a risk taker. You're willing to try different things, and that's a strategy in how you deal with it. That's an exit plan of, hey, I've had enough. And as I tell people, look at a guy like a Donald Trump, whether you like him, hate him, whatever you think of him, the one thing you can be assured of, when he's had enough in losing money of a situation, he files bankruptcy and moves on. And guess who goes with him? The banks, because they know they have a greater chance of making money with him than without him.
Right.
And he's not afraid of that. It's just, again, a business strategy. And unfortunately, from our personal standpoint, we don't look at things as a business strategy. We look at it as just like a client. That's devastating. I'm scum of the earth. I'm a bad person. In reality, you're not. In today's world, in today's economics,
You're just dealing with the hand you were dealt.
that's exactly right. You're dealing the hand you're dealt, and you're dealing with it as an adult, and you're making a decision. Because if you could take that situation and make it a business decision, your answer would be very quickly. It's unfortunate that we bring that personal baggage into it and look at who I am as a person because of it.
Right.
When in reality, like I said, the bank doesn't look at it that way. The bank always looks at it as an opportunity to deal with, and when can they make money on you again. They don't shun you. They don't prohibit you. They don't blacklist you. They want you back because there's more of an opportunity to make money with you than without you from that standpoint. Because if you think about it, they would be struggling for business if they weren't actively seeking people in financial distress from those standpoints. So we're going to take a break here. And again, Strafacci Law, you can reach us at 602-889-7288. You can visit our website at www.strafaccilaw.com. And we'll be back after these messages.
Are you or someone you know looking for a new job or career? The Vets on Media family would like to invite you to the National Career Fair in Phoenix on November 17th from 11 until 2 p.m. This free job fair will be held at the Phoenix Airport Marriott Hotel, located at 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. This is your chance to meet some of the top employers in the Phoenix area face-to-face. Get ready to jumpstart your new career at the National Career Fair in Phoenix, November 17th from 11 until 2 p.m. at the Phoenix Marriott Hotel, 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. For more information, visit ncfairs.com/Phoenix. Again, that's ncfairs.com/Phoenix.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Vets on Media Network.
Welcome back to the ESQ Resource Radio Show. I'm your host, Frank Lopo, and today we're discussing debt workout as I am a representative for Strafacci Law, and that's all we do. It's a boutique firm that we only do debt workout. And the reason for that, because a lot of people say, well, why don't you do the bankruptcy piece of it, is we don't want to be the gotcha that, when somebody comes in, we're always going to get a client out of the deal. We serve a specific purpose. We have a specific niche client. We really try to make sure we educate people on the situation. And our goal is not to have repeat clients. That part of how this thing breaks down is as a client comes in for a consultation, what we need from them is their bank statement and the credit card statements that represents the debt they have. And then the third thing, which is always the hurdle that most people struggle with, and we'll certainly talk to this, is their budget. And, people always say, well, I know what where my money is, and I know what's going on. And, I always have to let them finish that thought and that conversation, and then say, people that don't have money problems or not stressed out, I can tell you they know where their money is. However you do that is your business, but it's not checking your bank statement or your bank account on a daily basis. That's not a budget. It's sitting down and
Crap, I got to change my ways.
well, it's really sitting down, and here's the kicker to that is that once you sit down and you lay out, here's what I spend my money on, you start getting a clear picture of things. And then what I tell people to do is find somebody that you trust that can take a look at this, and they will see some holes in your budget to where, you look at it and you say, gosh, did you know you spend $90 a month for dry cleaning? And most people, when you point something out like that, will say, no, I don't. And you say, well, it's right here. I mean, let me walk you through that over the last 3 months, $93, $92, $95, and it's dry cleaning. And it's not that we tell people that you got to change and you got to start sacrificing things. It just create that awareness. Do you necessarily need to have $90 worth of dry cleaning per month? I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not looking to tell you how to do your business, and it may require that, look, my job is X and sharp and okay. But did you know that you spend $8 a day at Circle K? I do not. Well, it's right here.
I mean, when you guys get clients or potential clients that come in and you're sitting down looking at that stuff, do you get a lot of people that get defensive?
Oh, sure. Because it's awareness. It's not that
it's like, here's the reality of it. This is what you're doing.
Right.
You're coming to me for help, but you got a bad case of denial right now.
Oh, that's, Adam, that's what we tell, as I go out and talk to people and tell them my biggest competition is denial. That is who my biggest competition is.
Okay.
Because people just aren't living in a reality as far as here it is. And the good thing about the numbers is they generally never lie. It's right there. It's easy to go over, and it's not necessarily pointing out things, but we just get into those habits. And when you look at it, or when you look at your own budget and you think, gosh, I spend $8 a day at Circle K. Well, I need to, I got to go get my coffee, got to get a donut or a pack of cigarettes or something like that. It's just it's a habit you've gotten into. You don't need to think about it.
It's a great, interject real quick because you brought up coffee, and I wasn't a big coffee drinker until I started hanging out with
James
Jaime again. Thanks, buddy. I know you're listening down there. But I started, was going to, the Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, and then, I was taking my son and then getting him a donut or whatever. And I noticed I did it for like 2 months straight where I was doing it like every other day.
Right.
And I realized how much money I was spending on that. So I finally went out and I bought a coffee maker, and I realized how much money I saved by doing that.
Sure.
It was absolutely amazing. Then eating breakfast at home as opposed to,
grabbing something on,
right.
Because again, it's just
waking up a few minutes more, earlier to have that bowl of cereal or whatever the case is.
Well, and those are the things that you try to help people get wrapped around, of saying, look, I'm not looking to punish you or penalize you. It's just when you start looking at those numbers and say, gosh, I spend $8 a day, and $8 a day times 5 is $40, $45. And now if you reduce that down to 4 times, what does that do for you? If you reduce it down to 3 times, what does that do for you? And then just like, as you look at it and you say, gosh, if I buy a coffee maker and I make my own coffee, I still get everything I want in the deal. And
paid itself back after the first week.
No question. And that's when you really start getting a handle on your money. And that's where you find some of those deals where you're, gosh, I have no extra money. And the budget is a real key piece to all of this, because here's one of the real things that I emphasize in doing the budget is, who do you pay first? What's the first bill every month that you pay? And the number one answer is, well, I got to pay the rent, or I got to pay the mortgage. Get it? What you got to get in the habit of, and what I tell our clients is, you need to put your name to it. The first person you pay is you. And you have to put your name on that budget as saying Adam Bird. And don't try to go from 0 to 1,000. Don't go.
Maybe start with like $10 or something.
Exactly right. Because the psychology of savings works the exact same way as spending. Once you start seeing that savings build, you start getting greedy. So 90 days from today, you're paying Adam $10 a month, and you got $30 and you're thinking, Adam needs a raise. This is not right, Adam. And where are you going to get that money from? And then you look at the $8 a day for coffee and everything. That's where those little opportunities are, and saying, look, so now, in 3 months, I've got $30. In 6 months, I've got $200. In a year, I've saved $1,000. And you've created that pool of savings, and you really get some momentum with it. It's going to change everything for you.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking in terms of, I need that credit card because, Frank, we're going on vacation. Well, if you had $1,000 in your savings account and you want to go on vacation, you don't need a credit card. You've got the money there and you pay as you go.
Yeah.
It's not that false sense of, I'm going to pay it off in a couple months, because we never do.
Right.
Because other things happen.
It's just changing your mindset,
no question,
on your finances.
Because
yes?
the banks have changed your mindset in creating that credit card as your savings account. That's your savings account. That money you have access to when you have a credit card with $1,000 balance and a $5,000 limit. That $4,000 in most consumers is their savings. That's $4,000 I've got.
Right.
But you got to pay it back.
Right.
And you got to pay it back with interest. And the bank knows, in most cases, you're 2 or 3 steps from financial disaster, and you're 2 or 3 steps from them creating a big windfall of taking your interest rate from 2.99 to 29.99 because you missed a payment and everything gets jacked up. And the bank knows those. I mean, the bank, just like insurance actuators who can predict when you buy an insurance policy what your life expectancy are, the banks can predict the people that are going to benefit them in this game that they play.
Yeah.
And how that's all going to impact them and create more money for them and those things. And it's because we've given them all this information and they've created these habits and this, because that becomes the other struggle for people of, how am I going to survive without a credit card? And you can survive very well without a credit card. It's just, you've never had to do it, so you think you can't.
Right.
But when you start saying, gosh, I pay cash for everything, your mindset changes again of how you purchase stuff. Because, and I tell people, and I said, the easiest way I can prove this to you is this. When you have a $100 bill in your pocket, what's the game? How long can I keep that $100 bill without breaking it? And everybody does it. And as soon as you break it, you go in, you buy something for $19, it just disappears. It's gone. Within hours, it goes away. But you had the $100 bill in your pocket for a week. The second you broke it, it's gone. Because it's easy to spend $20 bill. It's easy to go into the store and buy something. But when the hassle you have to go through to break 100, when you go to the store and they say, we can't break that.
Put in an envelope, put it in your stock drawer.
Right. It's like a hassle. It's a big deal.
See, I think my temptation would lie is how can I make this 100 into 300 or 500 or. Well,
and that's again,
but you're taking a risk.
That's a contrary mindset to how you look at that. Most people, like I said, hold it, knowing they're going to break it. But that's why, there's a book written and I forget who it is, Larry Winget, and he says you should always carry $700 in your pocket. And he says, here's what happens. You walk differently when you have money in your pocket.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. More importantly, you spend money differently, because when you're at Best Buy and you're buying that big screen TV and you're rolling out $100 bills, you'll think about it. You'll say, what do you got for $300? Because this 500, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you slide your piece of plastic, don't even think about it. I need it. I want it. $700. It's my money.
It's a good point. Never looked at it that way.
And that's one of those, again, just those mindsets that you have to really get a grip on to understand and know that, and I like the aspect of the walking differently, that when you've got that money in your pocket, more confidence. If you want something, you can buy it, pay cash for it. Life goes on. Even though you use your debit card, and as people say that, I'm using my debit card, so I'm spending my money. No doubt about that. But that plastic changes that mentality. Like I said, sliding it versus putting $700 on the counter, there's a lot more resistance in putting that actual cash in somebody else's hand.
Yeah.
You're just, do I really, really, really need this? And a lot of times you can walk away from it. You can just say, screw it. I feel a lot better with $700 in my pocket than having that big TV sitting in my house. And,
$700 in your pocket. I'm gonna write that down. $700. That's gonna be my new goal.
It is. And that's the fun with what you can do with this kind of stuff, and really trying to see where you can take it and push it, hold yourself accountable. Or if, you have a partner, of holding each other accountable. It's not a big deal, but hey, we got a bigger goal, that our goal is to, at some point, have $2,500 in a savings account. So when we need tires for the car, when the car breaks down, we're not scrambling thinking, what the hell are we going to do? Who can we borrow the money from? And those kind of things. And it's not easy, believe me. It's not like, that people are sitting on a pile of cash, but until you start paying yourself, because the way a budget is set up now, any budget you buy, it says rent, car payment, insurance, utilities, credit cards, medical. And the fallacy we have as consumers is what's left over now goes into my savings. And the crazy thing, at the end of the month, there's generally nothing left over.
Right.
It's just not there. So if you make Adam Bird accountable to, Adam gets the first $50 every month or every paycheck, that becomes significant from that standpoint, because now you make that payment to Adam. And like I said, that mentality over time is going to say Adam needs a raise, and maybe goes from 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80. And you've created what you want. Is now you have those reserves that are your money, and the stress, everything changes. Everything changes, because you just have that comfort level of knowing the next life moment that comes up is not going to devastate me financially. I got a handle on it, know where I'm going with it. And we really try to get people to understand that it's a little tougher, and it's not something that I have an expectation, because I'm telling you this today, that tomorrow you're going to change your life.
No.
It's a process.
I was going to say, it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight.
Right. And it has to be a commitment. And as I tell people in life, I have what I want to say, no regrets. But if I would have done one thing differently from the time I was 18 to today, was if you just put $20 away every month.
It's funny. I try teaching my 11-year-old. You met my son, Chris. Anytime he gets any birthday money,
right,
or any money from his grandfather, I said, you can split up in two parts. You have to, he doesn't get a choice in this matter, but he has to take half of it, put it away, and then he could do whatever he wants with the other half. I said, that's our agreement. That's our deal. And I had started a savings account for him when he was younger, several years ago. And that's been accumulating that. So once a month we go to the bank, we make a deposit. If he gets anything, or a couple times a year, we'll go to the bank, make a deposit. But it's he's got a certain jar that's do not touch jar, or dad will hurt me.
Right.
Jar, kind of a thing. And I'm hoping as he progresses and gets older. I didn't do that when I was a kid.
No question.
And so it was kind of like it was something that I wanted to make sure that, being the age that I'm at right now, financially struggling as a single parent, I don't want him to go through those experiences or whatnot. Chances are there's a good chance, a lot of kids will do it anyway. But if I can at least lay the groundwork and teach him how to save money now.
Well, and there's no question about that. That's a great thing. The next thing you need to teach him is the value of money and how the bank looks at money, because the bank looks at money differently than you or I look at money. And that's the one lesson most kids don't learn is just as I talked about, what does 19% interest cost me? So when you look at those things, you really get a grip of $30,000 paying back $112,000. If that was laid out to you, would you sign up for that 30? And the answer is no. There was no way you would even consider it. But when the bank feeds it to you slowly, get you $100 here, get you $100 there, and they just drive you, dial you in, and you're sucked into it, and you're overwhelmed by it because it's just the plan they have that give you that credit card with the $5,000 limit. Woohoo! Everybody gets their first credit card. It's a great day. Everybody's going to dinner, party. We're gonna have some fun, and then the bill starts coming, and then you're on the treadmill. You're in life. That's the way it goes. That's exactly right. So we're ready to take a break here, but again, Strafacci Law, 602-889-7288. Give us a call with any questions you have. We'd certainly love to, and we can do a phone consultation and help anybody anywhere. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey, everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face to face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Vets on Media Network.
Welcome back to the ESQ Resource Radio Show. We're going to finish our final segment, and been a lot of good information getting out there. The next part, or the next area of an option, is consumer credit counseling or debt management, which is a nonprofit company that you're going to deal with and talk with, and they have things already set up to where they can put you into their program and create a fixed payment in a 5-year program, and get you on the path of recovery. And debt management isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it fits for several clients that we meet with from a standpoint where they may have $2,000 to $3,000 of debt. That becomes a good option for that client from that standpoint, because it's somewhat prohibitive of paying an attorney and our fees and those kind of things to get you through our process. So we look to debt management as another way to do that. The only one caveat I will tell you about debt management is they represent what they do and who they are, and they really indicate and point out the fact that it's less impactful to your credit than some of the other solutions. But the other thing they don't share with you, or is not part of their brochure, is it's much like a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And in fact, on a credit report, as mortgage underwriters view a consumer credit counseling or debt management program much as they view a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, because essentially it's very similar, so it's graded that way. And the debt management company gets an incentive for bringing clients in and recovering money. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not a bad thing. It fits certain situations, and it makes sense in some cases. What we do, just so we're clear, is, and I'll give you some round numbers. If a client has $100,000 in consumer credit card debt, which our average client has over $60,000 of consumer credit card debt, we use a 0.55 multiplier. And what we're telling you is we're committed to getting the debt worked out for 40 cents on a dollar, and our fee is 15% of the enrolled debt amount. So for $100,000 in debt, $55,000 all in, we will get that negotiated out for you, and you have legal representation throughout the process to minimize the impact of the creditor taking legal action against you. It's incredible how different that is when the attorney's doing the negotiations versus anyone else doing the negotiations. A lot of times when we're talking to the creditor, they're hounding us, telling us we owe them a lot of money, we need to pay it. And Mark is quick to point out, I don't owe you any money. I have a client that owes you a lot of money. So let's be clear about that. And also, when you say you a lot of money, is it you or is it Wells Fargo's that owed the money? Because it's a different conversation in that case, because we want to keep that as a transaction, just like the bank looks at it. This is just business, not personal. We want them to.
So the other person's trying to. It's oftentimes you see where the representative from the bank makes it seem like it's personal,
right? Because that's their script. Their script is to make you personally, emotionally attached to that debt to gain better leverage. Okay. When it's a business transaction, it's really slow down, pal. This is just business. You know, my client owes you $10,000. What do you want? Well, okay, what do you want is $9,000. And Mark will say, really, $9,000? That's a pretty interesting number. And oh, well, what did you have in mind, Mr. Attorney? Well, so I'm clear. My client owes you $10,000. You're telling me you'll accept $9,000 as a settlement. Am I clear? Yeah, that's what I said. And then they start getting a little bit indignant and a little bit pushy. So based on that, I'm going to recommend my client, maybe they offer you $1,500. And it's the
oh no, we can't do that.
Right.
No,
well,
no.
Shot out of a cannon, man. That person is, are you crazy? You're out of your mind. There is no way that they're going to accept X, Y, and Z. and I'm telling you that that's not going to happen, you're crazy. I don't even know who the hell you think you are. I don't know why your client's paying you. If that's the best you can do, slow down. Again, I base my offer on how ridiculous your offer was. So now that both of us have gotten this stupidity out of the way, let's get down to some business and let's have a conversation here. Because here's what I know, that you have a fiduciary responsibility to present every offer that is given to your client. So we can continue this conversation, and I'm going to tell you, I want you to take that $1,500 offer and present it to your client. Because here's what I know. Crazier things have happened. But they may get that $1,500 offer and they may accept it. And I want that response back in writing from Wells Fargo. And the conversation changes. Now we're coming to some reality. Now we're coming to the point of, here's what we know, that this $10,000 has already been charged off by the bank. So any dollar over $1 is now profit in this deal. So all we got to do is determine how greedy do you want to be about it. And that's where everything starts to come into play. And, we quote out a 40 cents on a dollar opportunity, but right now we're averaging between 20 to 25 cents on a dollar. And that's significant from that standpoint. And that helps us leverage that. Then the creditor says things like, well, if you don't pay us, we're going to sue you. And Mark always says, good news, went to law school for that occasion. Because here's how that's going to play out. That it's going to take you about a year to year and a half to get me in front of the bank, in front of the court. And I'm pretty confident that at some point the judge is going to say, why don't you guys go out in the hallway and get this worked out? Because you're wasting the court's time with this goofiness. And we're going to be at 50 cents on a dollar at that point. So why don't we start there? Why don't we start at 50 cents on a dollar and then work our way to a reasonable opportunity here? And surprisingly, it works. Not in every case, and sometimes they're a little bit harder to deal with and move around. But everything is negotiable. We've never come across something that where that creditor actually has said we're not negotiating. It's always on the table, and we act in good faith. We've got a great reputation with the banks and the creditors we deal with. So we're not a target they're looking for, and they're saying we're acting bad faith. We act in good faith in the benefit of our client, and we create results. And we create the peace of mind that they have is they're going to get this issue resolved. Because that's the one thing when we talk to them is in our program, 3 years may seem like a long time, but it's going to go quickly. The great thing is you have an end game. This thing is going to be over at this point in time. Right now, you have $40,000 of credit card debt. You have no idea when this is going to be over,
right,
and how you're going to deal with it. But if in 3 years, I'm going to be completely out of this, I'm going to be on the road to recovery. It's crazy. It is a crazy thing. And now you've learned hopefully some valuable insights of how to move forward, how to manage it, how to minimize your risk, how to create a savings account so you don't fall back into this treadmill or this trap of financial despair, because we don't do a good enough job at a young age educating people on the realities of financing, on, when I was in the mortgage business and you sit down and you do a $300,000 mortgage, and going through signing all the documents, the one page we always got to that was the hurdle page was the amortization page. And that's where they broke down every payment you made for the 30 years and how much you were going to pay the bank back. You're borrowing $300,000 for this home, and over 30 years of making $1,000 a month payment, you're going to pay the bank back $700,000. And people would often say, well, is it going to be worth $700,000 when I pay this off? And the answer is, I hope so. Have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's when you get your first reality of bank math of, again, I'm borrowing $300,000, which is a great thing, to buy this home. I'm going to pay them back $700,000. That's $400,000 of profit. Hey, if I could have 10 people doing that program, I'm in.
Good Lord.
Bank has hundreds of thousands of people in that program, and they are just a machine, and
Ranking
it
it in.
works. And the other thing is, I tell people, being in the United States and being able to do this beats second place. I have no idea what second place looks like, but you can't do this in most other countries. You can't borrow $300,000 to buy a home, live a life, that we can afford to live in
You
those
borrow
things.
$100,000 in most countries.
No question.
You know,
No question. So it's just manage it, just having some reality with it, knowing that, like I said, the bank is a machine. They're not your friend. They're not your buddy. They're the bank. And once you get to that reality and you look at things as not only from a personal standpoint, from a business perspective, you're going to make better choices. And that's all we try to gain from our clients, is a position where you're making better choices. And part of a better choice is seeking good professional advice in some of these situations that, you just don't know. And if you just take the time to go ask around to find out, you're going to get some good insight and make better choices. That's all we're looking to do for our clients. Is at the end of the day, if you can say, look, what I learned from Frank at Strafacci Law was, if I make better choices, better things are going to happen. And that's the case. And that's what we try to really promote and educate and know that we can help you. So again, if you have any issues with any of your debt or any questions, contact me at 602-889-7288. We can go over, the program in specific detail and see if we can help you, because we want to impact and get you back on track and help you understand that this is only a temporary situation. You can move forward from it and get on with your life. And that's the key to everything, because that stress is just eating you up. I try to frame that for my client of saying, by doing nothing, all that nightmare you think is going to happen is coming fast. That train is coming down the track, and it is going to just blow you up if you don't do something with it. So don't do nothing. Take action. If bankruptcy is a better choice for you, wholeheartedly recommend doing it, moving on with your life, recover. If debt management works, great. And if our program works, we're more than happy to help you. We're very confident of what we do and how we do it. Mark is a very hands-on guy, does all the negotiations, and for him, it's always a strategy. It's a chess game of how do we get them to work with us, and it may not be this deal, but it's the next deal. So if one of your creditors, we get settled for 40 cents on a dollar, but the next three we get settled for 19 cents or 10 cents, that's a win for you. And that's what we work on. We don't get hung up on, we got to get this for every deal. This is this one, and this is the next one. And what we've learned in this is every time we think we got the bank figured out, we don't. Things change on their side of it all the time. They're pushing forward. They're moving. It's a moving puzzle. So we work hard to stay on top of it, help our clients, communicate with our clients. Often I'll get a call from a client saying, real sorry, I had to call you, Frank. I just had a question. Hey, you're paying us to do our job. Call us anytime you want, anytime you have a question. We're here to answer it, try to help you through the process, and want to make the outcome exactly what you want it to be at the end of the day. And thankfully for us, every client we've enrolled has stuck through the program and graduated the program, except for 2 instances. And here's what happened is that when they first started out, both husband and wife had jobs. As we moved through the process, 6 months into it, one of them lost their job. Now they qualified for bankruptcy. And if we wholeheartedly recommend you do bankruptcy from the beginning, 6 months into it, if you now qualify, we'll certainly help you get through it and do it, because again, it's the least expensive, quickest way to recovery. For us, it's not always about getting clients in our door. It's how do we educate and help forward with
doing
that.
the right thing.
Right. Pretty simple. So with that being said, next week we're going to have, and I'll confirm this hopefully later on today, Franz Beasley and some of his group from Arizona Common Ground. And we're going to have some great guests coming up, some of our attorneys, and hopefully we'll have some from outside of the Phoenix market in Texas and things like that, of just getting some great education throughout the country. So thank you very much, and we will talk with y'all next week.
By the dawn's early light, what's so proud?